Okay, this is the second question, the long question. Don't let that bother you, okay? But you saw that in the first video, I have to keep these videos under 15 minutes so that YouTube will take them and I can upload them into Canvas. And I had a hard time keeping that under 15 minutes. If you're doing that question on your own, doing those two parts in 25 minutes is going to be a challenge. So watch your time, be thinking clearly. Don't spend time looking things up. You need to know what you're doing. If you have notes and you know right where to go, that's great. Now I'm wasting time on this one too. Doing the long question in a 15-minute period is a challenge. Also, let's get rolling here. Peaches and nectarines are substitute goods. Both are produced under conditions of competitive long-run equilibrium, pure competition, long-run equilibrium. The fact that they are substitute goods is going to come up later in the question. It's not don't worry about that in the first part of the question here. It says Joyce, who produces in the peach industry, she discovers a technological breakthrough that only reduces the cost of producing peaches for her. It's her breakthrough. None of the other perfectly competitive, the hundreds of other perfect competitors have this technological breakthrough. Explain how the change in technology will affect each of the following for Joyce, and you just write out your answer. But in order to write out your answer, you've got to graph this on your scratch paper. Remember, you keep scratch paper. So on your scratch paper, you're drawing out the PC firm in long-run equilibrium, price axis, quantity axis. This is microeconomics, price and quantity, P and Q. This is the firm. It's not the graph for the market graph over here with supply and demand. There is a price that has been established, is the equilibrium price, and that is her demand curve. Remember, Mr. Darp, demand equals marginal revenue equals demand equals average revenue equals the price of the product, okay? There is a marginal cost curve, which determines her equilibrium quantity that she's making, and she was in long run. Stop your pen at that point and go on up for the ATC curve. We don't need the AVC curve here, okay? That's where she was before she discovered the innovation. What does the innovation do? It lowers everything for her. Well, let me stay with black here. So her ATC goes down, her MC goes down. She goes through the bottom of the new ATC curve right there. But here's where her marginal revenue equals her new marginal cost prime, ATC prime. And so Q1, she's going to increase her output. Q will increase, and it wants to know why. And the reason is because the ATC and the marginal cost curves drop down, okay? And marginal cost equals marginal revenue at a higher Q, because marginal cost equals marginal revenue at a higher quantity, okay? All right. B, the price of peaches. Well, the price of peaches in the market stays the same because she's a perfect competitor. She is not big enough to influence the market price. Remember that? So price stays the same. Okay? Because she's a price taker, cannot affect the price. C, short-run profits. Okay? So her profits, and let's say short-run, SR profits, increases because here now at this new point where she's operating at Q1, where MC equals MR, her cost of production is down here. So she now has a profit. Whereas before she had zero economic profits, now she has profits. That increases because ATC went down, okay? And price stayed the same. All right, moving on. Now assume that all the other peach producers in the firms, peach producing firms, adopt the new technology. Explain how the adoption of the new technology will affect each of the following in the peaches industry. The price of peaches will fall because all their ATCs decline, right? And the supply curve shifts right, okay? So market price, P sub M market price falls because the supply curve shifts right, okay? Or, yeah, it's now cheaper to produce, okay? It shifts down, which is to the right. And the quantity of peaches produced will go up, E. Q will increase for the same reason, okay? Because the supply curve shifts to the right. Now that's what the answer key said, okay? This new technology is not applicable to the production of nectarines. Now we get the substitute product nectarine coming in. Explain how the changes that occurred in the peach industry will affect each of the following in the nectarine industry. So they're substitutes. What's going to happen to the price of nectarines? Well, since nectarines are a substitute, we know that when the price of the substitute product Y goes down, so here's your thinking off to the side here. There's substitutes, okay? So we know that when the price of the other product Y goes down, that's going to lead to the quantity demanded for your product X, also going down. So the quantity is going to shift to the left. It's going to be reduced, and therefore the price of nectarines goes down because the demand shift left, L-E-F-T. You could say just demand goes down, which means a shift to the left, okay? The quantity of nectarines is also going to go down for the same reason, okay? This is F, sorry, I got those wrong. This is F, that's G. So the quantity is also down for the same reason, okay? All right, then they give you a graph of the labor market for nectarine workers, okay? I'm going to pause now and draw that graph for you. Okay, so I drew the labor market for nectarine workers over here. I got rid of the other graph that I had. The demand for nectarine workers' labor, supply of labor for nectarine workers, the quantity of labor, it actually says the number of workers, okay, and the wage rate. Equilibrium wage rate is already drawn on the graph for you there. And what happens? It says, this is the graph before the technological breakthrough in the peach industry, which is another, not the nectarine, peach industry. Explain how the technological breakthrough in the peach industry is going to affect workers in this industry. What's going to happen to the wage rate for nectarine workers? Well, since the quantity demanded for nectarines goes down, the quantity demanded for workers goes down. Demand for labor, we'll call it demand prime. Remember that the demand for labor is the MRP. Remember that thing? The MRP of labor. So the MRP, because the price of nectarines is down, the MRP for workers is down, causing the demand curve to shift to the left, okay? So your answer is it will reduce, or it will shift to the left. Wage rate will go down because the price of nectarines goes down. The MRP of laborers goes down. A shift to the left of the demand curve, and the number of nectarine workers hired will also reduce. And you can just kind of refer to the graph there. But because demand shifts to the left, the number of workers hired will go down. And that wraps up question number 2. We did that one in just a little over 9 minutes doing it this way. You would, of course, have to think about it, draw a little bit, figure out what you're doing, get your feet under you, and then rapidly go through it. 15 minutes is going to press you to get this long one done. Keep an eye on the clock. And, if you get down near the end of the 15 minutes and you're not done, then cut your losses. Finish up what you've got, and then when the time expires, take your photo or upload your answer, okay? But keep keep an eye on the clock. This is, I think it's going to be pretty demanding for you to get all these things done. Okay.